specifically facing?
How much time do we have? So I think one is they're starting from a negative point, not only based on the research that I found that it costs $250,000 more, but where most entrepreneurs find the assets to be able to start a business is from home ownership or from wealth or from stock ownership, which most Black women don't have access to because they haven't had the income that's generated the wealth that's provided the economic security. It's an important.
So a lot of attention being paid to how well the stock market is doing or not doing.
When only 10% of most folks, the wealthy people own stocks, the middle class own homes. Black people own nothing. We don't even own our own narrative most of the time. And I think that it's important, though, because when you have large companies taking their tax cuts and paying back their shareholders, and only 25% of new jobs being created in the bottom 60% of zip codes, it speaks to just a lack of employment opportunity. Right. The bias isn't even allowed to happen because there are no jobs. Right. And then you add on low education, poor education in our communities, STEM coming in as supported or subsidized, but not a real commitment. But I think this question about entrepreneurship is extremely important because 40% of white men, there's a decline in entrepreneurship, 40% amongst white men. So the savior who is going to create all these new jobs is not there. The majority of new jobs are being created by Black women. African American women are creating jobs 6 times their white male peers. That's significant because they are now the job creators. Entrepreneurship amongst Black Americans is 20%. It is 12% among white Americans. The problem is we don't have the same amount of zeros at the end because of lack of access to capital, affordable capital. We are charged an average of 1.5 times more on a loan than a white person starting a business, and that's actually allowed, which is problematic. But what's most significant as we think about the demographic shifts and the fact that people who look like me are about to be the new majority, and I realize that scares people, if Black businesses had been invested on par or in parity with white businesses, we would have 570,000 new businesses by Black folks, $150 billion in economic uplift. And that's about 1 million new jobs. And that's significant because Black businesses hire people of color. So when you think about the historic disinvestment in our communities and this demographic shift, we are about to be negative net worth because of the racism and the sexism that has existed and the fact that as a finance person, we have underinvested in what is possibly the greatest asset in this country that is going to leave all of us asset poor and embarrassed on the world stage.